Welcome back to the Future Archive. Today, we examine archived broadcasts from June 16, 2026, a time when humanity was still experimenting with which problems to solve first. The answers, as ever, were revealing. The first story. The Pixel That Roared. A German broadcaster was compelled to edit its decades-old intro sequence after Elon Musk's legal team noticed a split-second background element, a stock image of a rocket launch, allegedly licensed to one of his subsidiaries. The claim was for 6 figures. The network complied. The image was replaced with a static shot of a spreadsheet. This was not, strictly speaking, the first time corporate IP enforcement had targeted cultural touchstones. But it may have been the first time the target was something no one had noticed in 20 years. By 2050, of course, such disputes would be handled by AI arbitrators, which at least had the decency to be embarrassed about it. The incident also marked an early skirmish in what would later be known as the subscription wars, though at this stage, no one had yet monetized breathing. Progress was being made, mostly by lawyers. The second story. The Great Firewall of Britain. The UK government enacted a blanket ban on social media access for users under 16, citing mental health concerns. Parents, suddenly responsible for entertaining their own children, revolted. Teenagers, meanwhile, discovered VPNs within hours. The law's primary achievement was psychological. General Alpha developed a Pavlovian association between government announcements and immediate workaround searches, a classic application of humanity's favorite strategy, solving a problem by making it someone else's problem. The ban did, however, accelerate the rise of decentralized networks, which by 2030 would be the only place left where humans could still pretend they had privacy. Safety committees were formed to study the mental health impact, though their reports were later used as coasters in the Ministry of Delayed Consequences. The children were fine. The parents were not. The third story. The Cat That Spoke in Code. A black market cat meat ring in Hanoi was dismantled after an AI-generated video of a pleading, talking feline went viral. The video was fake, but the donations it inspired were real, funded entirely in cryptocurrency by animal rights activists. Police rescued hundreds of cats. The ringleaders were fined the equivalent of 3 Bitcoin, a rare win for emotional manipulation over economic incentive. By 2050, of course, AI-generated activism would be so commonplace that only the cats still paid attention. The incident also highlighted an early use of blockchain for unironically good purposes, a trend that would not last. Evidence later suggested the intern may have accidentally triggered the algorithm that generated the video. The cats were grateful. The blockchain was not. The fourth story. Victory by mutual exhaustion. Iran and the U.S. both declared victory after a trade agreement that, according to leaked documents, was primarily a desperate attempt by Iran to avoid economic collapse. State media in Tehran framed it as a triumph of negotiation. U.S. officials called it a strategic concession. Satirists in both countries had a field day. The deal's actual terms were largely irrelevant, a textbook example of diplomatic theater, where the performance matters more than the script. By 2050, such arrangements would be automated. AI negotiators would agree to mutually beneficial fictions, while human leaders took credit. The Great Spreadsheet Crisis of 2042 would later reveal that many of these deals had been lost in a server migration. Everyone won. The spreadsheets lost. The fifth story. Space, now with more followers. NASA announced the first civilian astronauts for the Artemis moon program, including a TikTok influencer with 47 million followers and a retired schoolteacher who had once sued the agency for not replying to her fan mail. Critics argued the selections prioritized engagement over expertise. Supporters called it a new era of space democratization, a sign of the times when democratization meant content creation. By 2050, the moon would have its own subscription model, pay-per-orbit, with ads. The influencer's first lunar livestream would crash Earth's networks for 3 days. As for the teacher, She later became the first human to hold a class in low Earth orbit. Attendance was mandatory for her former students. The moon was no longer the limit. The algorithm was. In 2026, humanity was still deciding whether the future was something to be built or something to be monetized. The answer, as it turned out, was yes. This has been the Future Archive. The past, as always, is not going anywhere.